Hello and welcome back to Everything Boats with Captain Frank Lanier, where we discuss boats and boating, from maintenance and repairs to seamanship and safety, as well as everything in between. This podcast is a companion to my YouTube channel of the same name, so if you like and find it useful, be sure to subscribe and please check out my YouTube channel as well, where you'll find hundreds of informative videos on pretty much every boating topic imaginable. Today's topic, everything you always wanted to know about batteries, but were afraid to ask. Part 1. Of the many items that make boating as we know it possible, batteries are arguably the most important. Although these boxes of lead and acid grant us access to all the wonders of modern electronic gadgetry, most boaters know little about them and even less about proper selection and maintenance. It's a sad fact batteries rarely die a natural death. Most are homicide victims killed by unwitting owners. Here's the first of a two-part article on how to select, install, and properly maintain your batteries so they live to a ripe old age. Contrary to popular belief, batteries are not a modern invention. A clay jar found near modern-day Baghdad is thought to be the oldest known electric battery in existence. Dated to around 200 BC, this 5.5-inch by 3-inch wide Baghdad battery was capable, when filled with an electrolyte, probably vinegar or fermented grape juice, of generating between 1.5 and 2 volts. Theories for its use range from treating pain — the Greeks and Romans used electric fish to numb painful areas — to electroplating silver objects with gold. But what exactly is a battery? Simply put, they're devices that convert chemical energy into electricity via a galvanic cell, which is formed by suspending two dissimilar metal plates within an electrolyte. A common flashlight battery would be an example of a single-cell battery, whereas the familiar 12-volt lead-acid battery consists of 6 cells, each of around 2.1 volts when charged, connected in series. Once surrounded by electrolyte, an electrical voltage develops between the plates, the amount of which varies depending on the types of metal used and the electrolyte itself. Lead-acid batteries, the focus of this article, consist of a sulfuric acid electrolyte and plates of lead dioxide and sponge lead, thus the name lead-acid. Battery lingo. Battery selection in a perfect world would focus exclusively on meeting a vessel's electrical needs under any circumstances. In the real world, however, factors such as cost, availability, mounting space, and intended use all play equally important roles in the selection process. Before discussing the various types of batteries available, let's review a few terms that will aid you in selecting the one that's right for you. First up, cold cranking amps, often abbreviated as CCA. CCA is defined as the maximum number of amps a new fully charged 12-volt battery can deliver at 0 degrees Fahrenheit for 30 seconds while maintaining a voltage of at least 7.2 volts. That's 1.2 volts per cell. Marine cranking amps, or MCA, also known as cranking performance. MCA is a term used to rate how much cranking power a new, fully charged 12-volt battery provides at 32 degrees Fahrenheit for 30 seconds while maintaining at least 7.2 volts, 1.2 volts per cell. Amp hours, also abbreviated as AH. Amp hours expresses a battery's storage capacity, and it's determined by multiplying current draw in amps by the length of time in hours that it takes a battery to discharge. A battery capable of providing 5 amps for 20 hours, 5 amps times 20 hours, would have 100 amp hours of capacity, as would one that delivers 4 amps for 25 hours. The rate and discharge time can vary, however, the battery's electrical storage capacity remains the same. Reserve capacity, or RC. The reserve capacity of a battery is the number of minutes it can supply a constant specified voltage, normally 25 amps, at 80 degrees Fahrenheit while maintaining at least 10.5 volts. It's designed to give the buyer an idea of how long a battery can continue to supply power to essential accessories after a charging system failure. A terrestrial example being how far an automobile can be driven after the alternator fails or the alternator belt breaks. 20-hour rating. The 20-hour rating states that the amperage of a new fully charged battery can supply for 20 hours at a temperature of 80 degrees Fahrenheit. This is also known as the amp hour capacity of a battery. Last up, cycle life. The cycle life is the number of discharge and charge cycles a battery can deliver over its service life. One battery cycle is defined as discharge from a full charge to a complete discharge, and then back to a usable full charge again, usually from 100% to 20% and then back to 100%, although the percentage of discharge varies between ratings. So, what's it all mean? Well, for starters, the burden is on you, the consumer, to ensure that the playing field is level when comparing and contrasting the various ratings used when advertising. Battery manufacturers are a crafty lot, and you have to pay attention to not only what they're selling, but how they're selling it. For example, let's say we got two batteries, battery A and battery B. Battery A offers 900 cold cranking amps for $100, while battery B offers 900 marine cranking amps for $75. As both provide the same amperage, B appears to be the better value initially, but the informed buyer, that'd be you now after you listen to my articles, knows that the MCA is a rating performed at 32 degrees Fahrenheit, while CCA uses 0 degrees as a reference point. Any battery will have a higher MCA than CCA. As battery performance degrades with lower temperatures, if battery B provides the same amps at 0 degrees that battery A does at 32 degrees, we can assume it's likely a stronger, more robust product. Manufacturers may also use different discharge periods to generate higher amp hour numbers for their product. For example, a battery can have a 20-hour rate of 344 amp hours, as well as a 100-hour rate of 429 amp hours. It's easy to see how buyers comparing two batteries with similar capacities but different hour rates would logically assume that the one with the higher amp hours is more powerful, unless they're aware of these key differences in hour rates. Know your type. So what's the best way to select the right battery? Start by looking at what the battery's job will be once it's installed, which allows you to select it based on both application, is it a starting battery or a storage battery, and construction. And this will be you looking at the design of it, the materials, quality materials, etc. Probably the first decision to be made is whether to go with a wet cell battery or one of the newer technologies such as gel cell or AGM. These are the most common basic battery types and probably account for 90% of the batteries on the market. Now, the newer battery and more advanced battery systems such as lithium ion and stuff, that's going to be a topic of discussion for another article, a future article. So, just to clarify, we're going to be talking about wet cell technology now, gel cell, AGM, and just plain old wet cell batteries. All wet cell, gel cell, and AGM styles are lead acid batteries in one form or another, meaning they all use the same chemistry despite variations in construction, and each can be designed for starting battery or storage applications. Familiarization with the pros and cons of each will help you match the right style with the particular job at hand. Wet cell batteries. Although wet cell or flooded batteries in their modern form can be traced back to the 1880s, they're still the workhorse of the industry and are considered by many to offer the best value for the money of any battery type. Many improvements have been made over the years, however, its basic form remains the same. Flat lead plates immersed in a liquid sulfuric acid solution. The thickness of these plates and the overall quality of its grids, the plate supports, and case, the actual battery case that holds it all together, play a key role in determining a battery's durability and service life. Wet cell batteries can either have removable caps to add water to the cells lost during the charge-discharge cycle, or they can be of the sealed maintenance-free variety. These maintenance-free varieties simply have a little reservoir of water inside the battery to mitigate loss from overheating or just loss of the electrolyte due to gassing. Despite being old school technology, wet cell batteries offer some attractive advantages over gel cell and AGM batteries. For one, they're cheaper and they have an excellent cost to life cycle ratio, provided they're properly maintained, and they are more tolerant to abuses such as over or undercharging. As to wet cell cons, they don't hold a charge as long as gel cells and AGMs. They're more prone to internal shorting and vibration damage, and they can leak electrolyte if placed at an odd angle or punctured. The fact that they need regular maintenance, the addition of water, is considered by some to be a disadvantage, as the generation of explosive gases while charging, a phenomenon known as gassing, that and the corrosive acid mist accompanying it means proper ventilation is an important consideration for wet cell installations. Gel cell batteries. As many of the negative aspects associated with wet cell batteries involve electrolyte leakage or loss, one goal of early manufacturers was eliminating this free sloshing acid altogether. The electrolyte of gel cell acid or gel cell batteries is immobilized by adding silica gel to the sulfuric acid solution, creating a more or less solid gelatinous goo that is then placed within a pressurized sealed battery utilizing special valves for venting needs. The result is a truly maintenance-free battery in which the electrolyte can't be spilled due to case damage or tipping over. Another plus in this is both gel cells and AGMs are recumbent batteries, meaning water loss during operation is reclaimed internally. Gel cells also operate equally well in most any position except upside down. Other advantages include virtually no gassing and the ability to hold a charge longer than wet cells. They can also discharge a lot of current and are less susceptible to damage if left in a discharged state. Gel cell battery disadvantages start with cost, which is significantly more than a comparable wet cell battery. They also recharge inefficiently when deeply discharged, as most of the charge current applied during recharging produces heat rather than the chemical process necessary for recharging. This means that they have to be charged at a lower rate, no fast charges, than a wet cell or AGM battery, or the heat produced during overcharging can create permanent voids in the gel, reducing battery capacity. Despite their recombinant design, gel cells can lose water if battery temperature is excessive, such as occurs during improper charging or when used in hotter climates. That's the purpose of those special valves mentioned previously, which are essentially one-way vents designed to release gas in just such situations. As this lost water can't be replaced, extreme cases of excessive venting can result in premature battery failure. Absorbed glass mat, or AGM batteries. The next evolutionary step for lead-acid batteries was AGMs, which utilizes a fiberglass mat to hold the electrolyte in place rather than gelling material. This design is also known as a starved electrolyte construction because the fiberglass mat is only 95% saturated with electrolyte, ensuring there's no excessive acid to leak, even if the case is damaged. AGMs have all the advantages of gel cells with virtually none of their shortcomings. Their plates are more securely packed than wet or gel cells, and construction is so robust they'll survive installations that would literally shake a standard battery to pieces. As there's no liquid to expand, AGM batteries can also survive freezing, and unlike gel cells, their internal resistance is extremely low, meaning almost no battery heating occurs even during heavy charge or discharge cycles. They also have the highest charge acceptance rate, efficiency, and life expectancy to boot. Self-discharge rate is also lower, meaning they can be stored longer without charging than standard batteries, a plus for use on boats that may be left unattended for months at a time. The primary disadvantage associated with AGM batteries is cost, which can be 2 to 3 times that of a comparable wet cell battery. Another would be intolerance to overcharging. So as you can see, proper battery selection is based on a number of considerations, from warranties and construction to initial cost versus life cycle data. Researching and gathering as much information as possible on a prospective battery purchase will always be time well spent. Be on the lookout for our next battery article, Part 2, where we'll discuss battery selection, installation, and maintenance.